Every website you use, every mobile app, every social media platform, and even modern robots work because of programming. But here's the truth. Most beginners think coding is difficult. Welcome to FuturE Break
What
Coder.
even is programming? Then tackle the rules of syntax, variables and data types, controlling the program flow, arrays and data structures, and wrap it all up with packaging code with functions. Let's get to it.
Section 1. What even is programming? Let's kick things off with the fundamental problem of communication between humans and machines.
To really wrap our heads around coding, we first have to understand our relationship with the machine. At its core, programming is just attempting to get a computer to complete a specific task without making a single mistake. Imagine you're asking let's say, a less than intelligent friend to build a massive complex Lego set, but you've lost the instruction manual. You have to give them perfectly specific step-by-step commands, or the whole project just falls apart. If there's even one tiny piece you haven't explicitly told them how to place, the whole set is ruined. And honestly, that is exactly what programming a computer is like.
Now here is the absolute core truth of computer science. Computers only do exactly what we tell them to do. We tend to build them up in our minds as these super sophisticated, genius-level machines, but actually, a computer's pretty dumb. Its main functionality entirely depends on how we manipulate it. It simply reads our instructions and converts them into machine code, that classic binary string of ones and zeros.
So that leaves us with a massive problem, right? If computers only speak the numerical binary language of ones and zeros, and those programs are made up of millions upon millions of those numbers, how on earth are we supposed to translate our human instructions? Well, this is exactly why we need programming languages. Going back to our Lego example, it'd be like if your friend didn't speak English at all, but only spoke Mandarin. You'd absolutely need an interpreter. Programming languages, like Python or Java, they act as that ultimate middleman. They sit right there in the middle, translating our human thoughts directly into the machine's binary code.
But where exactly do you write all this down? Well, you're going to write your code in an IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment. It's an incredibly helpful interface that essentially acts as our digital workspace. The IDE gives us built-in error checking, autofills phrases we use a lot, and actually runs that translation process so the computer understands our program.
Moving right along to Section 2, the rules of syntax. Let's look at the absolute strictest rules in the coding world. Just like English or Spanish, programming languages have grammar. In computer science, we call this syntax. Every single programming language has its own unique grammatical rules that literally must be followed to a T. If we ignore these rules, like, say, forgetting a semicolon in Java or misplacing a curly bracket somewhere, the computer basically throws a tantrum and the entire program crashes. No exceptions. To show you why this matters so much, take this classic grammar joke, let's eat grandma versus let's eat, grandma. Forgetting one tiny comma changes the entire context from a nice family dinner to, well, something pretty terrifying. And that is exactly how a computer feels if we make a syntax error. It completely misinterprets what we're trying to do. Now that we know the rules, let's look at how we store our raw materials in Section 3. Variables and data types.
So a variable is essentially a space in memory that stores information. The best way to visualize this is to think of a cardboard box. We construct the box, and then we take a Sharpie and write a name on the side. That's our variable name. The contents inside the box are the pieces of data that we can peek at, swap out, or manipulate later on as the program is running. For example, a video game character's score would be stored in a variable box labeled player score.
The absolutely crucial point here is that we have to choose the exact right type of variable box for our specific data. If you want to store a whole number, you use an integer box. Need to store some text? You use a string box. If you're doing math with decimals, you grab a float or double. And if you're just evaluating if something is true or false, you use a Boolean box. Knowing which box to use is just a fundamental must-have skill for writing clean code.
So, how does all this build into code that actually makes decisions? Let's figure that out in Section 4, controlling the program flow. Without conditional statements, our program would do the exact same boring thing every single time it runs. Conditional statements, mainly if-else logic, are what allow the code to react dynamically. It's basically saying, hey, if this certain condition evaluates to true, run this block of code, else run a different block. For instance, if a user's age variable is greater than 18, grant them access to the app, else deny them. Simple as that. But what if we want to automate a task and do it, say, 100 times? We definitely do not want to sit there copying and pasting our code 100 times. That is where loops come in to save the day. We use for or while loops to rapidly repeat a set of actions over and over again until a specific base case tells the computer to stop. It is literally the ultimate automation tool. There is a major trap here, though. We have to give our loop a concrete mathematical way to eventually stop. Otherwise, we create what's known as an infinite loop. It's kind of like sitting your friend down in front of the TV, putting on Friends, but telling them they can only leave the room when a joke from The Office plays. They'd be trapped there forever. In programming, an infinite loop causes your system to panic, eat up all its memory, and just completely crash. What happens when we have tens of thousands of pieces of data and individual boxes just won't cut it? Welcome to Section 5, Arrays and Data Structures.
Why would we ever need an array? Well, imagine you're running a startup with 100,000 user accounts. You can't possibly make 100,000 individual variable boxes. It'd be a nightmare. An array is a fixed-sized list that stores multiple related variables under one single name. It essentially acts like a massive, highly organized spreadsheet column inside the computer's memory, which lets us instantly search through a database of usernames without skipping a beat. But to actually use an array, there's this quirky but unbreakable law of coding we have to remember. Computers use zero indexing. That means the very first item in the list is at position 0, not position 1. If we want the first item, we have to ask the computer for index 0. If we ask for the 10th item in a 10-item list, the computer's going to throw an error because the last item is actually sitting at index 9. It takes a second to get used to, but trust me, it's essential.
Okay, let's dive into our final building block for mass production. Section 6, Packaging Code with Functions.
A function is this beautifully wrapped up segment of code that can be easily run multiple times just by calling its name. Think of it like walking into a Five Guys. You don't just walk up to the counter and yell, "Give me food." You have to pass specific arguments, like burger or fries, into the function. Passing arguments into a function changes its output dynamically, which saves us from writing the exact same code over and over. It's what makes our code clean, modular, and super professional.
And that brilliantly brings together the entire coding journey we've mapped out today in this explainer. We start with a human thought, we write it in an IDE using strict syntax rules, we store our data in variables and arrays, we control it with loops and functions, and finally, it all translates down to machine code to print out exactly what we envisioned right there on the computer console. Now that you have this universal toolkit of rules and definitions in your back pocket, you basically possess the key to unlocking any coding language in the world. Seriously, the concepts of loops, arrays, variables, and syntax, they are going to follow you everywhere. So the only question left for you is this. With the foundational rules totally mastered, which language will you pick up today to start building your own brilliant software?
If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, like this video, comment your favorite programming language, subscribe to Future Break Coder, because many exciting coding and